Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. If you're joining us from Eastern time zone, it is a little before 4 o'clock on Friday, and I can smell the weekend from here. This is going to be part deux, in the sense that I did an amazing live the other day for those of you in CRE basic training. But unless you are an absolute lip-reading master or mistress, you would not have understood a single word I said because I had no sound. Leave it to the guy who has, or had, a recording studio in his own home to not have sound on his live. That'll be this guy. That being said, thank you for joining. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. First time's practice. This time's going to be even better. But I want to go over kind of a few concepts with you folks. Basically, go over kind of the differences between residential and commercial, and more importantly, kind of give you an idea of why adding commercial deals to your residential practice can really be the key to the business and the life that you want, right? It's not about scrapping everything you do and jumping ship to something else, the shiny object syndrome. It is not about that at all. But what it is about is about, getting those opportunities that come your way. You have a friend, you have a brother-in-law, you have someone in your sphere of influence, a past client that comes to you and says, hey, Charlie, can you help me with this? And you say, oh, no. And what winds up happening, and tell me if any of you have ever experienced this, comment below, say I, right? That your friend Charlie or your previous client Charlie comes to you and says, oh, I got this thing and I'm looking to invest. Thank you for helping me find my home. Looking to invest and I have a couple $1 million. And for the life of you, you want what's best for Charlie. So unfortunately, you're unable to get, to service Charlie on the highest level. So you wind up referring that deal out to a commercial broker across town that you, number one, may or may not know their skill level. Number two, may or may not know how well they're going to take care of Charlie. And three, you don't know if they're going to be ethical. And if Charlie makes a second, third, fourth investment, because it happens a lot of times in commercial, you wind up doing repeat deals with people over and over and over again because investors that's kind of their nature. You don't know if you're going to be involved from a referral standpoint for commissions on the second, third, fourth, and so on transaction with that particular client. So if any of you have ever experienced this, please raise your hand and say aye, because what I'm trying to express to you is how adding this, like a tool in your tool belt, right? Right now you got a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver. I'm just saying, let's just put a drill in the toolkit so that when something comes along that needs drilling, instead of giving it to your friend who owns a drill, you take it and you drill it for yourself. Make sense? Cool. Okay, so first, I also wanted to reach out and explain to you guys also how commercial agents earn commissions, right? There's a lot of kind of mystery around how leases are priced and how sale listings are priced and so forth. So I'm going to kind of demystify that stuff for you today. And if you guys have any questions along the way, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer it. I'm kind of willing to help and kind of interested to see what might not be clear when I get done, okay? So again, who is this training for, right? Who can benefit from this? It's basically going to be any residential agent that's never closed a transaction before on the commercial side, right? So maybe you're saying, I would love to help the people on the commercial side. I've always been interested, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure how to do it, right? Okay, so, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare and contrast some things so you get a little level of clarity in terms of what's involved. Maybe you say, you know what? That's for me, absolutely, I wanna learn more. Or maybe you say, you know what, that's not something I want to do. I'd rather just refer it off to George across the city, and that's fine, Who else it's for is going to be people who maybe have just gotten into real estate and they're not sure whether they want to do the commercial route or they want to do the residential route. I'm going to show you kind of the pros and cons of each so you can kind of come up with your own idea whether or not this is going to be something that works for you. Next, it's going to be for commercial agents that maybe are unsure, that maybe they've only done leasing and they want to know about sales. Maybe they've only done sales, want to learn a little bit more about leasing, okay? And more importantly, my goal for you folks is for you to just at least understand how things are working, like how it works on the other side. Maybe you've always kind of wondered, and what I get from a lot of my students, hi April, nice to see you, thanks for joining. Sometimes, a lot of my students, they'll say that they refer things to commercial agents and that commercial agent doesn't want to help them, doesn't want to teach them anything, doesn't want to show them any of the tricks of the trade. I'm here to pull back the curtain like the Wizard of Oz and be like, hey, this is what's behind the curtain. It's no secret. Anyone can learn it with the right amount of time, right amount of effort, and the right guidance, okay? Anyone can learn these skills, no question. So moving along, right? So I want to first, just so you know, let out a disclaimer, okay? Hi, Ashley. Thanks for joining. I want to let out a disclaimer. The purpose and my goal for this training, right? It's not to say, residential isn't the way to go, commercial is the way to go. No. I'm just going to give you an idea of what it would be like to add commercial deals, right? Just to show you what the possibilities are on the commercial side, to show you how much it can impact your life. I think oftentimes people don't realize what just a couple commercial transactions could do. And I'm going to show you kind of what the average transaction size in the United States is and so forth, and do a little math for you so you can see, oh wow, this could really, give me a little more time, give me a little more money, or both, right? Who wouldn't want more of those, okay? So that being said, the first thing I want to kind of compare between the two sides, and now mind you, none of this is conjecture, none of this is me guessing, okay? Number one, I'm a commercial only guy, 100% commercial. When I went to go sell my house years ago, I hired a realtor, okay? Because I believe in giving person the opportunity who knows the market best, because that's what's going to net you the most amount of money, right? I preach this to my clients, so I believe in it myself, so much so that I hired a realtor when it came time for me to sell my home, even though I've been in real estate for 2 decades, okay? That. But what I'm getting to is that this is not guesswork, right? This is information that I have kind of acquired over time from speaking to hundreds of residential agents that enroll in my course and that are interested in my course, and I get to hear about their pain points and their struggles and kind of the things that they like and don't like about their side of the business, and this is what I get over and over and over again. So I think you're going to notice there's going to be some trends, and you're going to say, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. Okay, but so none of this is guesswork. This is empirical field data that I have gotten from speaking to literally hundreds of people, okay, that are on the residential side. So, and just as an FYI, my core competency is teaching residential agents how to sell commercial. I realize it was a completely underserved niche, and that's what I do. I try to help and educate as much as possible because I want to see you folks make that bridge, because it isn't as far as you might think, or other commercial agents might make you think. So I just wanted to kind of make you aware of that, right? So the first thing I'm going to kind of compare and contrast is going to be the expectation of clients. Now, what do I mean by that, right? So I have found that on the commercial side, you are typically dealing with business owners, right? Whether they are an investor or whether they are what is called an owner-user, someone that not only owns but occupies the property for the use of their business, for running their business. It's called an owner-user. And they want to do business basically during business hours. Now, that might be 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. But for the most part, most of those people want to do business during business hours, okay? So I can literally count on 2 hands in the last 18 years since I started leasing, in 2003, how many showings I have had on the weekends. And literally can count on 2 hands. So 1 every other year, that's about right. So that is kind of the expectation on the commercial side, is to do business with people during business hours. I know from having dealt with realtors that have helped me with requirements that I have had, that oftentimes, there's an expectation of 24/7 availability. I'll never forget, a few years ago, I live in Miami Beach here, and I was looking at condos, and I was just thumbing through Zillow one night, laying in bed, like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm thumbing through, and I just clicked on a listing just to get a little more information, thinking I would get it the next day, 2 days later. In 10 minutes, I had somebody text me back and made an appointment for 10 o'clock the next morning. So I was absolutely astounded, because there's obviously this kind of, not only was, the agent, very much a hustler, but there's also the expectation that if that person, if they don't hop on it, someone else will. So there's kind of this 24/7 availability, and just, answering calls and texts and emails all hours of the night and Saturdays and Sundays. And to juxtapose that against commercial, you just don't have that expectation. If someone calls you on a Friday afternoon, first of all, commercial brokers oftentimes are a little annoyed if you're calling them on Friday afternoon for something. They're like halfway to the keys, in my market. But there's this expectation like, okay, no problem. It can wait till Monday. That's fine. There's not this urgency that if you don't do it, someone else is going to kind of jump in your shoes, right? So that's number one, is the expectation, right? Now, the next one is the number of transactions. It is no secret that residential agents on the whole do more transactions per year than commercial agents, right? Basically, if you think about it, every single person walking down the street needs a roof over their head, right? Whether it's a house, a condo, a two-family, whatever that might be, everybody needs a warm place to stay, In fact, there are a lot more transactions that occur. I know real estate agents that do 50, 60, 80. I know a handful of people that do over 100 transactions a year. So a lot of them have, very, very high transaction amounts. Whereas on the commercial side, you do fewer transactions, but the transaction size can oftentimes be significantly larger, okay? Now, going down to commissions, right? If you look at kind of the average commission in the States, and we'll get to the average home size, but let's just say it's somewhere around $10,000 or $12,000 for a residential transaction. The commissions are oftentimes smaller on the residential side, but you have more of them. And on the commercial side, you can close significantly larger commissions. There's, I don't want to say virtually no limit, but they get a lot bigger on the commercial side. The other thing is that the type of clients you work with. What I love about commercials, I'm a numbers guy, like through and through. I'm analytical to a fault, but that's what I excel. Like, show me a spreadsheet and it speaks to me. It literally talks to me. I can read into the numbers and it tells me a story. So I deal a lot with more business-minded folks, more analytical folks, on the investment side of things. If you know how to read a spreadsheet, you know how to crunch numbers, it'll tell you just as much as a story as someone spilling their guts to you and telling you your whole life story, right? So on the commercial side, we tend to deal with a lot more business-minded folks. Whereas on the residential side, your home is a very personal thing to you. Some people can spend half their life in their home, and it's very much a part of their identity and so forth. So you tend to deal with a lot more emotional clients. If anybody watching has ever had an emotional client, go ahead and raise your hand, because I'm sure everybody watching has dealt with emotional clients before, because it is such a personal side of things, as opposed to being on the commercial side, where oftentimes it's a yes or no decision based on whether or not the property reaches a certain investment criteria. It's very black and white, very ones and zeros, numbers, just the facts, ma'am, so to speak. Okay, so in correlation to the types of clients, right, the decision-making criteria is such that on the residential side, because you're dealing with a very personal decision, maybe someone lost a loved one and they are downsizing. Maybe their kids moved away to college and now they're in an empty nest. Maybe they're going through a divorce and they're highly emotional charged decisions, right? So on the residential side, I've heard story after story about feeling-based decision making. Someone will walk into a place and just say, I love it, I have to have it, I want it now. And that's something you might get on the residential side, whereas we are very, very much more of a logic-based decision-making model. People look at the numbers, 1 and 1 is 2, always will be. Feeling very seldom plays into whether or not someone is going to purchase a property. It really comes back to, is this going to serve the investment criteria that I'm looking for, right? So that's the kind of the decision-making process and how it differs between the two, right? Residential side, you'll oftentimes have shorter deal cycles. Just like that person that walks in and says, oh my God, I love it, I gotta have it. You might be able to put someone in a home and have it closed 30 days later. Commercial, that can happen, but we also have longer deal cycles. But on the residential side, I know a termite report can come back bad, or someone can find out that the doorbell doesn't work, and next thing you know, they want to ask for a $25,000 reduction. So things can get dragged out on both sides, but oftentimes there are shorter deal cycles on the residential side. They're a bit longer on commercial, but the size of the check more than makes up for that, and we'll get into that in just a second. And then at the end of the day, less time off. On the commercial side, there's that Monday through Friday expectation. So weekends are pretty much yours, unless you really, really want to get after it. And then on the residential side, there's definitely an expectation, whether it's doing open houses and so forth. There's that expectation because if you think about it, most people work. And so they don't have time on a Tuesday afternoon necessarily to go looking at houses. They need to handle that nights and weekends when they're not in their job. Most people work for somebody else. So that's also something to consider. You're going to be working more of your nights, more of your weekends. So as a corollary, you might have less time with your family, and on the commercial side, it might afford you some more time with your family. Get to go to those dance recitals and those t-ball games and so forth that you've been missing out on, right? And on the whole, flat out, and then this isn't conjecture, this isn't guesswork, this is statistics. The average residential agent makes less than the average commercial agent, and I'll show you exactly what the National Association of Realtors posted in terms of what those numbers look like. So those are kind of the differences, kind of comparing and contrasting some of the most important key points of the two brokerage strategies or sides of the brokerage coin that kind of make up the whole cookie in terms of your quality of life and what it's like to interact with clients and so forth, right? Now, here's an interesting stat, okay? The earnings of residential versus commercial. The average commercial realtor makes $85,000 a year, according to the National Association of Realtors survey of its members, versus $39,300 for residential realtors. Okay, that's NAR put that out, and then Monster.com put that on their website. Now, another a statistic which I think which corroborates this, right? The BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, reports that an average yearly income of just over $44,000 for all real estate agents, right? But most sources indicate that commercial real estate agents earn somewhere around $85,000 annually. So there's two different sources that say the average. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not average, and I know you aren't. So nobody likes to be average, but that's what, if you took them all together, the good ones, the bad ones, the mediocre ones, you average it out, it's 85,000. But that's not where the rubber meets the road. Here's what I want to explain to you, right? There's another one that shows the median. Now, average is you take them all together and you divide them up. Median is half of them make more and half of them make less. If you take the data set and you line it up, right? For commercial sales agents have a median gross income of $153,000. Okay, that's what I wanted to point out to you. So the average salary, that might be someone that does leasing and doesn't do a lot of sales, but the average, I should say, the median gross income of a sales agent is $153,000. That is almost triple what the average American makes. Average American makes right around $60,000 a year, 55 something, depending on the city. Okay, and this came from Fool.com. And finally, according to the NAR again, the average commercial transaction size, ready? Drum roll. $1.6 million in markets served by realtors. Okay, that's huge. How huge? That's what I'm going to get into in just a second. But $1.6 million. Okay, think of what that would be when we consider, in comparison to, right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to compare and contrast. Okay, the U.S. median home price was $340,000. Now, the one thing I want to demystify, right, is how many people are taking a look at the averages, right? How many people, raising your hands, closed their average home prices around $340,000, something along those lines, right? But what I've noticed in state after state, I have students in 9 different states, right? And what we have noticed by speaking to hundreds of people is that wherever your commission structure is in your state, oftentimes very closely mimics the commercial structure. So whatever residential agents are making in terms of commercial commission structure, so it'll be like 3% per side, 6% total. That's pretty much what the commercial brokers make. So that's something I want to point out. So basically, the average is $340,000. A 3% fee on that's going to be, what is it going to be, about $10,000? We're going to do the math in just a second, right? So going back to how it works, right? And now, mind you, for commercial commissions, the way they work is they very closely mimic the residential structure up till about $5 million. Once you start hitting that $5 million point, so let's just say, for example, because most people in most states I speak to are basically right around 6%, okay? 3% for the buy side, 3% for the sell side. Now, if you were to take that 6% fee on $5 million, once it starts getting up to the $7 or $8 million, they might drop it down to 5%, 4%, something along those lines. Whereas you get up over $10 million and they might drop it down to 1 or 2%, or maybe like 2% you split each side, or 3% you split 1.5 each side, which is why my bread and butter is 2 million to 5 million. You can make more money, and I know it sounds super counterintuitive, you can make more money on a $3 or $4 or $5 million transaction than you were to take that average, according to the NAR, of 1.6 million. In a 6% commission rate environment, that's going to give you a $96,000 commission on average. Okay, so total commission is $96,000. Commission earned per side is $48,000 per side. Okay, so just to give you an idea, so let's just compare and contrast. Median home sale on the residential side and the average price on the commercial side. Median home sale is $340,000 at a 3% commission. A buy side broker will make $10,200, right? And then on the commercial side, the 1.6 million times 3%, you're going to look at 48,000, right? So here's the thing that I find is most interesting, right? There's a couple ways to look at it. So with 48,000 on the commercial side, $10,000 on the residential side, you have to sell almost 5 residential homes on average to equal 1 commercial sale. Okay, so what I want to point out is, if you could add just 1 or 2 commercial sales to your business a year, I'm not saying everybody jump ship and go over there because it's great, because it's a lot of hard work. Commercial is absolutely a lot of hard work. You can get paid well, but you're going to earn your money. There's no question. Just like in residential, you can earn good money, but you're going to work for it, right? But my point is, if you could work, if 1 commercial deal equals 5 houses on average, maybe you add 1 or 2, commercial deals a year, and it'll help offset. And you have to work with 10 less clients to make the same amount of money, right? Maybe it'll give you a little bit of time back in your day. Maybe you are able to, instead of taking every client because you have to, I've done it myself, right? Instead of taking clients because you need to, you take the ones you want to, because reality of it is there's like an 80-20, right? There's about 20% of your clients that give you 80% of your headaches. All right, so if you can kind of tailor that back a little bit and say, okay, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take 80% of the clients that I like, okay, mind you, and then I'm gonna go ahead and then incorporate a little commercial. Commercial will help offset that 20% that you're not taking, and I guarantee you'll have a much happier experience. You won't have to deal with those headaches. If someone gives you a bunch of grief, you say, listen, Charlie, I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you, but I don't think this is going to work out. But let me refer you to someone, and refer them to someone you don't like, right? Just kidding. But seriously, you don't have to, in this business, if you have enough leads coming in and you're making enough money, there's no reason why you have to work with someone you don't like. Life is too short. Stress is a killer. You do not want that. And by the way, I'm just seeing my hands on camera. I was working on one of my investment properties today, and so I see I still have silicone on my fingers. So in case you're wondering, like, why does this dude have hands like a mechanic? Because I was literally on a ladder fixing one of my warehouses. Anyhow, so you look down here. At the end of the day, what is it worth to you? What is it that you're really going for? Is it you're looking to make more money? Is it you're looking to have more time back in your day? Or is maybe a combination of both? Is your peace of mind, one of the things that really drives you? For me, it comes down to peace of mind. At a certain point, I want to do something because I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy the process. I want to enjoy going through that process, and I don't want to have to deal with headaches, and I like to be able to have the ability to choose who I do business with. And my premise of this presentation is, if you're able to add a little bit of commercial, right? 2 deals a year, let's say, it could significantly offset your residential practice, so that you can maybe be a little pickier with your clients, maybe earn the same amount of money, maybe earn more money, and so you have a little bit more time for your family. Maybe you have to deal with less headache clients, or because like we saw the averages, it looks like it's 5 houses on average to one commercial transaction. You can afford to have a better lifestyle and still make the same amount of money. Maybe work less hours and spend more time and go, like I said, to those dance recitals and those t-ball games. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. If there's anything that you're looking for that I can help with, I run a training program. And as I mentioned earlier, my core competency is helping residential agents bridge that gap between residential and commercial, okay? I've devised a plan, a program. It's a 4-step program to take you step by step along the way and get you closing commercial deals as quickly as possible. If you have any questions, reach out down in the comments below, type interested, and I'll reach out to you and give you some further details about the program and what would it look like if we were to work together. And in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic Friday. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.